Hi, today I'd like to talk about something I saw on the train. I'm going to put a picture of it here that kind of irritates me. It says free college, and there's something that irritates me about this lie. It's when people don't call things what they are, and it annoys me that through the 13 years that I spent in public school, I was never taught once that when government says that something is being offered for free, that the government has no way of offering it for free. Government has specific ways that they can make money. So they can tax you, which means they take your money, which means that what they're offering you is not free. They can issue bonds, which they pay back at an interest if you buy the bonds, which means that that is a promise of being taxed further at a future date, which means that either you or your children will pay more taxes, which is not free. They can borrow money, which is printed, which increases inflation, but also increases debt, which means that your children will be in debt, and also that, the Snickers bar that was 50 cents a few years ago is going to be $1 now because that money is worth less, which means that it is not free. Free means that you are not billing anybody. So there's this distortion that takes place now where people think that something is free simply because somebody else is being billed for it and threatened while they're being billed for it. Imagine that you're going to a grocery store and you're standing outside the grocery store with a wallet that has about $300 in it. And right as you're about to enter the grocery store, someone walks up on you, punches you in the face, takes your wallet from you by force. And just as you're getting your wish, just as you're waking up from being unconscious, that same guy that just punched you in the face walks outside with 5 oranges and gives them to you and says, "Here, you now have free food." What would you say to that? Would you believe that? Would any sane person, even somebody who was forced to go to 13 years of New York City public schooling, believe that those oranges were free when the person took $300 of your money, punched you in the face to get it, and then gave you 5 or 10 oranges? That's not free. They stole from you, and then they gave back a portion of what they stole from you while keeping a lot of the excess for themselves. Welcome to government. Welcome to taxation. That is how it works. But for some reason, people are not able to see the disconnect in these two scenarios when it's very much so the same principles behind both. Something is free when it's offered and nobody is being forced to pay for it. So an example of something that's free would be these YouTube videos. Now, advertisers do choose to pay me to put their ads on my content, but these videos were up for many years before I had the little monetize button available on YouTube. I don't tell advertisers, you need to put ads on these videos or else, nor do I tell the people watching them that if the advertisers don't pay, that I'm out of here because these videos have been free for years. That is actually free. So I want to provide free education. What I do is I take this camera, I take my time, and I put together stuff that would make a good lesson, and then I film it and I upload it for free. If people choose to donate, that's on them. If people choose to put ads on the video, that's on them. But even if none of those voluntary transactions are occurring, the videos will remain up. That is actually free. And when somebody's going to say, there is no or else, what do you mean or else? What do you mean threaten? Nobody's threatening anybody. Put a deduction on your taxes at the end of the year saying, I'm going to take off this $1,000 because it's probably going to some college with a federal subsidy that teaches art history or gender studies, and you will very quickly find out that there is an or else at the end of everything funded by taxation. It's not free if you're going to bill other people for it. It's only free if you are not billing anybody for what it is you're doing. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking something along the lines of, but Louis, it's not regular people that are going to be paying for college. It's all the rich people. It's the corporations. And we're allowed to hate them. We're allowed to use them as piñatas because they're rich and they're evil and they made all their money by stealing from other people. Do you not realize that the people that you're beating money out of are the very people that would be creating the jobs that the people going to college are looking to get? Like that whole elitist idea behind going to college, that whole idea that you need to go to college to get a real job. Most of those real jobs are created by these businesses who are then going to downsize or not create them or just not expand it to new field because they don't have that surplus of money, because that surplus of money was taxed to death and then put into college. There's cause and effect to everything. You cannot simply take money from this group of people and expect that nothing they do is going to change. Just for an analogy, let's return back to that asshole from the grocery store that punched me, stole my money just to give me oranges. Let's say that same asshole comes by again, and while I'm just about to draw something, punches me in the face, steals my crayons, and then gives them to a 2-year-old. The 2-year-old writes his name. The 2-year-old makes a little stick figure drawing of himself and his family. Everybody goes, ooh, ah, isn't that so cute? But because he stole my crayons, now I'm not able to draw the Mona Lisa, something that for hundreds and hundreds of years people will see as a pinnacle of art. I'm not able to draw that because it was stolen. And the thing is, nobody's going to mourn the painting that I never drew because they don't know what it is. They can't see it to know that it would have been beautiful, to know that it would have had a higher value than the little kid's scribbling of his name, because they don't see it. All they can see is, oh wow, look, that little kid drew his name. Aren't we so glad that he has crayons? Most people are not clairvoyant. They cannot imagine what would have been had no theft taken place. Most people only see the little picture that the kid drew. They cannot see the Mona Lisa that I was never able to draw. Most people can see that somebody who went to a 4-year college, now knows a little bit more about art history, has a little bachelor's degree next to their name, and is now working at a $10 an hour shipping job. They only see, well, I guess it's good that you have something for your resume. What they don't see is the system that could have been in place, that in 6 months could have allowed that person to make $100,000 a year. They never see it because it never happened. And the reason it never happened is because the money that could have been used to fund that is being used to fund and prop up a terrible system. If college for the average person were allowed to be naked and seen for the terrible idea that it is, without all of these subsidies, people would say, well, that seems like a terrible way to spend $20,000 to $40,000. Let me look for something else. But the motivation for the average person, the incentive to look for something else, to pursue something else, is gone, because the college is now free. So even if it sucks, well, it's free, I might as well go. So that incentive to look elsewhere for education is gone. And since that incentive to look for other education is now gone, there is less incentives for other people to provide free market alternatives to college and to create businesses that educate people on how to provide value to society. So you never see that. You never see the things that people will not create to make education better, because people have a free system that sucks. When a system sucks, you get rid of it or create a new one. You do not find ways to make the crappy system free so that people don't care that it sucks. The next part that gets me is when people say, well, college is expensive. Somebody has to help pay for college because it's so expensive. And one of the reasons that college is so expensive is because this lie has been perpetuated for years and years and years and years, that you need to go to college to make the most of yourself. You need to go to college so that you can get a real job. Your parents will look down on you if you don't go to college. It's something that happened over the past 20 to 45 years, where if you don't go to college, your family's disappointed. People will, they'll look at you like, oh yeah, you could get that job, but you didn't go to college. There's this stigma attached to never having gone to higher education, which I think is a bunch of bullshit. So since we have been telling every single person, even people that would be totally fine not going to college, who'd be able to get a job easily without going to college, who could produce in the world without going to college, you need to go to college, we now live in a society where everybody wants to go to college. Now, what happens when you increase demand tenfold for something but keep the supply the same? The price is going to go up. If I have 10 oranges and I have 10 people that want to buy oranges, I can set reasonable prices. If I have 10 oranges and there are 10,000 people at my little orange stand that want to buy oranges, the price is now going to go up because I still have 10 oranges, but there's 10,000 people that want to buy the oranges. The same thing is occurring with college. College used to actually be somewhat reasonably priced. Now the prices are going up and up and up and up and up because so many people want this finite resource. And it adds to the costs of everything else involved. I mean, just look at things like textbook prices and the fact that the entire textbook industry knows they have these students by the balls because they don't believe they have alternatives for higher education. Just the fact that you can go to a school where the textbook changes every single year, not in content, but they just rearrange the order of the questions so that if you do your multiple choice homework, you will get the answers wrong if you use last year's textbook. It's mind-blowing how they find these new ways to rip people off because they believe that they have you by the balls, because you've bought into the lie that you need to go to college. So this idea that college is so expensive, which is why we need to steal money from people in order to help fund it, it's expensive because we're all buying into the lie that college is going to help you get a much better job, that college is for everyone, that you're going to be smarter if you go to college. And all of this stuff is it's a pile of crap. I am not smarter because I went to college. I am very bad at random memorization. I'm very bad at learning when I'm being lectured to for 2 hours at a time. And that's not the way I learn. I sucked at learning that way through high school, and I sucked learning that way in college. I failed chemistry. I had 60s and 70s, and every one of my courses. It wasn't exactly something that contributed much to my character or to my brain. And I have a business and doing something that I was completely self-taught and had to do. I make six figures doing what I do. I'm very happy doing what I do, and I have people when I put out job ads that are applying to work here that have 5 or 6 years in college that are often applying to these slightly above minimum wage shipping positions. And I look at this and it makes me sad because they were told this lie that if they go to college that you're going to be so much better off than everybody else, and they get out of college and they're loaded down with this debt. They're in their mid-20s. They were at the same age that I was when I was putting out these job ads, and here I'm the business owner and they are without debt, and they are saddled down with all this college debt, applying to bubble wrap stuff and put it in boxes. And no offense to people that put stuff bubble wrap stuff and put it in boxes to pay their bills. It makes me sad that somebody was told if you go to college you're gonna be better than those people that do these jobs, when in reality that's often all that is available to these college graduates. Now, the next thing that irritates me when it comes to price is also this concept that something being expensive is bad, and that we need to collectively work to bring the price down by stealing from people who are doing productive things and then giving it to college. There is something very, very good about cost-benefit analysis. It causes us to make more productive decisions, and it causes us to change in ways that are going to help us and improve our lives and improve society. I used to fix recording studio gear, as I've mentioned many times on this channel. I fixed recording studio gear. I would, stuff like Studer 800s, A27s, Neve 8088 consoles, SSL J9000s, G4000s, LA2A compressors, LA3As, Neve 2254s, all that type of stuff. And at some point, I realized that I could not make real, reliable, consistent money doing that, and that was going to be a ridiculous uphill battle. It became more and more difficult. It became less and less financially viable. And as it became less financially viable, I was forced to find other things to do, which is how I found this. And now I'm applying a lot of those same skills towards something that has a higher value proposition to society. And the way that I know that there's a higher value proposition to society is that what I was doing before, very few people were willing to pay for at the time, and it was dwindling and dwindling and dwindling, whereas what I'm doing now, more and more people are willing to pay for, and it's going up and up and up, which is how I knew to apply myself here. Now that I've applied myself here, not only have I served many more customers, made many more people happy, I was also able to do real free education, not the foofy government free education, where I don't bill anybody for the education, and I put up content that teaches people how to make a living, how to make money, and how to do many of the things that I do to make broken things work again. All of what I've accomplished, I accomplished because I live in a society that says if something is not very valuable, you're not going to make money for it. Now, when we look at college and we look at the fact that you can spend $40 or $60 or $80,000 in college and come out applying and have no jobs available besides, packaging boxes of screens at my old screen company for like 12 or 10 bucks an hour, there's something important there. There's something to be learned there, which is that the system that exists it's not working. It's lying to people. It's telling people that you can get this liberal arts lobotomy for $40,000 and do something with it when in reality you can't. And it's going to trigger people to think, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that because somebody else did that, and when they did that, they came out of the system completely broke, destitute, and unable to find real work. Maybe that's not really so valuable. Maybe I should become a plumber. Maybe I should, maybe I should become an electrician. Maybe I should learn a trade. Maybe I should go into construction. Maybe I should start my own business. Maybe I should just read books on my own. Maybe I should learn from tutorials on the internet. Maybe there's some other way that I could learn how to provide value to society without going through a 4 to 6 year college degree. But people are not going to be prompted to think that if you then find a way to make something free. Because when you take away the financial barrier to doing something, you also take away a lot of the inhibitions that someone has or the questions that they're going to have. When I need to spend money on anything, even if it's just something like this little microscope I have here, this setup cost me $1,000. Because it was $1,000, I did some research before I bought it because $1,000 at the time was still quite a bit of money to me, and I wanted to spend it on something that I knew was going to do what I needed it to do. But if that microscope is then made free, then I'm not really going to care about whether it's a good value because I didn't pay for it. When you tell people that college is free, what you're doing is you're giving the college no no real feedback. They don't have to care if what they're teaching is valuable. They don't have to care if what they're teaching makes sense in a modern, very quickly becoming automated world. Colleges don't have to care if they're preparing people for the real world because they don't even live in the real world. What's the incentive to care if I'm providing you with a good value if you're not paying for it? What qualification would I have to teach you how to live in the real world when I myself don't live in the real world? Think about it. If you decide to start a business, who's going to take tax revenue and give it to your customers just so that you can buy my products? Doesn't exist. This is what college is. If they fail, who cares? Here's a federal subsidy. Oh, people don't want to pay for what we offer anymore because they don't think it's valuable? Oh, don't worry about it. We'll come along and steal other people's money and give it to your customers, but only if they spend it at your business. Don't worry about your curriculum. Don't worry about how you teach. Don't worry about any of your existing systems. Don't change it all. You don't have to change. We'll force other people to change. We'll force other people to give up their money and give it away to your customers by force just so that you don't have to change, just so that you don't have to adapt, just so that you don't have to actually get started in performing your mission of teaching people how to be valuable members of society. Don't worry about it. We got you covered. In what other business does this monetary system exist? It doesn't. It's not real. The individuals who are going to be teaching you how to live in the real world don't live in the real world and are not qualified to teach you how to live in the real world. Let's undo this bullshit before it takes over our society. By making college free, by not making college a market-facing entity, they now have the freedom to suck at what they do. And this is not what we need. When you look, and a lot of people are going to say, well, what's the solution? What do you think should be put in place? Well, we're going to find that out once we end what isn't working. And what's key to ending what isn't working is allowing people to see that it's $40,000 to get a crappy degree rather than subsidizing it so that they don't go. And then somebody will come up with a proper solution. But you're never going to see the solution until you get rid of what the non-functioning present solution. The Industrial Revolution did not come about until slavery was ended, the same way that a proper educational solution is not going to come about until we end all of these subsidies for college by stealing from productive people and then taking the productive people's money and giving it to people in colleges that are creating non-productive graduates. And I know a lot of people are going to come by and say, well, Lewis, what about if you want to become a doctor? What if you want to become a lawyer? What if you want to be an astrophysicist? Fine, go to fucking college. If you want to be an astrophysicist, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be go to college. I'm not saying that you should watch videos on YouTube to learn how to do open heart surgery. I'm not saying that if you want to be a structural engineer that designs the next World Trade Center, that you should just, learn that on your own. There are many things that you should probably go to college for. But there's also a lot of stuff that you don't have to go to college for. And I'm sick and tired of elitists saying that if you didn't go to college, there's something wrong. Again, I don't even remember what a Coulomb is or how to pronounce it. Like Coulomb. I'm trying my best to hide my Staten Island Guido accent so that I don't say Cologne instead of Coulomb. I don't even remember what it is. And you know what? I don't give a shit. I don't need to know it to do my job. It's not necessary. And the time that I don't spend learning shit that isn't necessary is time I spend learning how to be more productive in what it is I do to provide value to society. If there's a way that you can do what it is you want to do with your life, that you can fulfill your mission and purpose without having to spend 4 to 6 years being lectured to by people who have never had a market-facing job in their life, I would suggest that you go ahead and do that. And if you absolutely need to go to college to learn how to do what it is you need to do, fine. But just ask the questions and think about it before you go. And for fuck's sake, stop believing when the government tells you that they're giving you something for free that they're not. Because all they're doing is they're walking outside the grocery store, waiting for you to walk up, punching you in the face, taking you $300, and then coming right back around to bring you 5 oranges. And have the gall, the audacity, the balls to say that those oranges are free. They're not.